Hello and welcome to this episode of the Brynka Beacon. I'm Jennifer Young, your host of the Brynka Beacon, and today we're going to be discussing how you can get a grip on your organization. And this is topic 5 of our 6-part series called Motivating Your Team. So our panel is going to discuss how team motivation boosts both productivity and engagement and allows a team or company to accomplish its goals. So welcome and thank you for joining Brenda and Peggy as they share proven methods for creating a fun, supportive, and encouraging environment, resulting in attainment of the organization's overall objectives. Today's webinar is brought to you free of charge by Brynka, who offers flexible tracking solutions. We invite you to sit back, relax, listen, learn, and participate. Feel free at any point, if you have any questions or comments, to go ahead and enter them into the chat box, and we'll address them as we see them coming in. So now let's introduce our speakers for today. We're going to hear from first Brenda Fick. She's the president of Brynka, located right outside of Philadelphia, PA, and she has been in the mailing industry for over 30 years. Brenda has been speaking about mail and distribution for many years, bringing her vast expertise to interactive conferences that discuss issues and processes in a workshop environment. And then we also have Brynka's own Peggy Smith. Peggy joined us here at Brynka a few years ago, so we get the pleasure to work with her every day now as a coworker instead of as a client. She came to us from Washington University in St. Louis, where she spent the last 34 years. There, Peggy oversaw faculty and staff mail, package and receiving operations for academic and medical campuses, servicing nearly 20,000 employees and over 5,000 on-campus students. So thank you both for joining us today. Again, I'm Jennifer Young, your host of the Brynka Beacon, and we have Todd DeVries, who is helping us out with everything behind the scenes. So thank you, Todd, and welcome, ladies.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So we have a few participants, and I know more will be joining soon.
So the first thing I'm going to go over is this series that we started this year. Brynka has been implementing a EOS operating system. It's worked really well for us. So I decided to give that to everyone of our Brynka partners. And I just wanted to highlight some of the items that we've gone over so far this year. If you want to find any of these recordings, you just go to the Brynka website, About Us, and the Brynka Beacon. They're all recorded, so you can view at your own leisure. So the first one was leadership. That's the start of every organization department. We're only as good as your people. That was literally how you need to put the people in place. Core values, what gets measured gets improved, motivating your team. And then next month in September, we're going to do finalize and how you can set yourself up for 2024. So one of the things that Peggy and I love to do is interact with whoever we're meeting with within a group. We love to do live, be live and have an interaction, but we're going to do a game today. And anyone that involves them in the chat. Oh, that reminds me. April, can you just say something in the chat? I just want to make sure that you can say something in our chat. Can anyone do anything in the chat? I just want to make sure people can say something in the chat. It is here. Oh, hold on. The chat feature looks disabled, Jen. Can you make sure to open that up?
Yes, I will check that out behind the scenes here.
Because we can't play a game if you can't answer, right? Well, I apologize for that from the very get-go. Because we definitely want to do the chat, because what we're going to do is we're going to go through motivating your team. So we know all of you have some aspects of motivating your team. So when you have something on the screen that you'd like to comment on, like to say, yes, I do this, whatever you want to talk about, we want you to put into the chat so that at the end, whoever has given us the most information is going to win an Amazon $25 gift card. So we really want to make sure that you can chat. Can anyone try that chat again? Just to make sure.
You can go ahead, Brenda, and we'll work it out here. I see in Christina Zimmerman has typed into question and answers. So we can have them type in there.
Yeah, let's just type in question and answer and we'll do it that way for right now.
Yep, that works. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you for helping us out. We appreciate it. Okay, so the first thing, just to go over the last 4 seminars. The first was leadership. We went over the different types of leadership, the principles of leadership. Basically, you want to build relationships. You have a vision. You want to share that vision. You want to enable others to act. And you are the model. If you're a leader, everybody's going to follow you. So the next one was we're only as good as our people. So we did a people analyzer tool. There's another tool that I'm going to show you in this presentation that I've used on our company. The structure of your accountability chart and is everyone in the right seat? So, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I read another book that I'd like to tell you about that I think could help with your as good as people. The next one is values that mean something. If everybody has the same values, you're going to work together. You're going to do everything together. You're going to build that culture, and everyone is going to really help to grow your department, your organization. And these are Brynka core values: customer centric, do the right thing, go the extra mile. So anyone that works with Brynka, that's what we do day in and day out. What gets measured gets improved. This is something that we're really going to dive in our next seminar as well, because if you don't have measurements, then it's going to be very hard for you to improve and succeed in 2024 if you don't have some kind of measurements going on. I'd love to know did somebody get any kind of measurements or anything that was done regarding the measurements? Did you enhance your measurements? Did you do new measurements? Are you working on measurements? I'd love to know if anyone of you has kind of looked at measurements and tried to implement that this year or are working on it next year. The next one is, so this is still motivating your team. And Jen actually read this book. And over the weekend, she read it and she was so excited about it. She texted me and said, okay, this is the book. You need to read it. I read it and I realized, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And I never, ever thought about it in that way. So go ahead to the next slide. So one of the things that I did is I gave each one of our employees, it cost $25 for each one of our employees, and I had them do a test. And I wanted to find out what each of the genius of each of our employees is, what they really like to do. The genius is what they love to do. And it doesn't mean that they can't do anything else. It's just one of those things that they really, really like to do. And I realized in our development team, almost every one of our development team had the genius of invention, which makes sense though, because they love to invent. They love to develop. So it was very eye-opening that that our development team, which was good, but it had that's what they love to do. So when you think about your team, and if you can do the test, I don't know if you can or cannot, but if you can do this test, understand who wants to invent. That's the person within your team that if you put them on creating something, they're going to excel. They're going to exceed. The genius of wonder, that's another thing. They always look at how you are running a department, a system, a process, and they're going to say, you know what? I think there's a better possibility if we try to do this. So having someone of this genius, of the wonder, is another good, really good aspect. Because if you give them, I want you to look at this process and think about the process and then think about how it can be better. And a person with this genius is going to be better than anyone else in that team. Not that the other part of your team cannot do it. It will just give them, they will be motivated to do this if they have that wonder. The genius of discernment. So, and I'll tell you right now, I am I&D, the discernment and invention. I mean, that's just me. The invention is always coming out of me where my development team gets all upset with me. But I also have the discernment to say, okay, it's right time now, or do we wait 6 months? So that having those two is really good because, or you need somebody in discernment to look at that invention that was created from the wonder and say, you know what about this? What about that? Did you look at this? Did you look at that? And Todd is my discernment a lot of times. And so is Jen. It's not they like it, but they can do it. And they're, so anyone with discernment, though, I go to as well to help me. If I want to do this, what is it going to take? What do I need? The genius of galvanizing. So normally that is in the sales team because they love to rally. They love to get people involved. They love to solve problems for our customers. And guess who on our team has galvanizing? Go ahead, Peggy, raise your hand. And it's also Jen, because that is what they do. And it's the best. And that's why, Peggy, a lot of times, the nice thing about having Peggy on board is that I don't have to travel as much. And I send her, and she loves, doing presentations. So it's a wonderful thing. And having that galvanizing person is going to help you to get those ideas and rally around, oh, we could do this. We could do this. The enablement. So they also provide encouragement and assistance for an idea, and they enable people to get it done, but they really help that project get done. Where the tenacity, this is key as well. And it would be great if you have all of these aspects within your department, because the tenacity is the one that's going to get it done. They're going to look at that. They're going to push it through. They're going to get all the tasks done. And they're going to be so happy when that's complete. That is the tenacity person. And understanding these aspects of the people that you have within your department is going to be really good, because if you put them in the right place, that is just going to motivate your team, because they're all doing something. If you could get them involved in something that they really like to do within your team, that is going to be a great success for your department. So we're going to continue on that, and Peggy's going to give us more motivating information. Go ahead, Peggy.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see me. I do much prefer trying to do these in person. Just came back from ACOMS, had a wonderful time. Mark and I were there, being able to meet with the ARMCOMS, the ARMCOMS members in San Diego, and got to talk about the benchmarking, but I also just love, this topic about motivating and team values. All right. So hopefully our question and answers section will be working, or our chat, so that you can provide some input so that we can award a couple of certificates at the end. Thanks for the summary and the EOS system that we have been following along since we've been doing this series all year long. Now let's look at some of the team values and how we can think about motivating your team. So here's a few that I like to think about. There's team players. There can be a single person on a team. There can be multiple, kind of like a baseball team or a soccer team or a tennis. There's a lot of different types of teams. And on those teams, sometimes they're action-oriented roles. Folks who can challenge the team to improve, much like what Brenda was talking about with the EOS system. There's just a lot of different ways to look at that. People who can shape the team, who can make implementation, put those ideas into action, and someone who can finish the job, make sure that things that we can ensure thorough follow through and timely completion. And we certainly have that on the Brynka team, thanks to Jen and Mark and Todd and Brenda and obviously our development team. So the next slide is the people-oriented role. Okay, so with this, the value for team would be, a coordinator. Someone always has to be able to take the lead, take the notes, coordinate the meetings, encourage others to participate and cooperate, and those who can do the research to help find the opportunities to make sure that a project can succeed and see it through to the end. The next slide has to do with the thought-oriented role. So here we are with someone that can present the ideas, can approach, not afraid to try something new, to evaluate, to analyze the different options, like our development team, the specialists who have a specialized skill, numbers in that. Mark is certainly that. He can crunch numbers and he can analyze and do all of that. So it's the thought-oriented role that is valuable to a team as well. So in the next slide, we're going to talk about the Fred factor. Has anyone on this webinar heard about the Fred factor? I've talked about it a couple times before, but I haven't really talked about that for a while. And when I was thinking about motivating in teams and that, this came to mind. This was a book that actually came about. My daughter had this in one of her classes, said, "Mom, this is probably something you might like." And it had to do with, it's a true story that the author here put together about a mail carrier named Fred. All right. So this mail carrier, actually, he really, really loved his job. And there's people on this call certainly who love their job. I enjoy what I do. But again, his name was Fred, and he always went the extra mile. And he watched over the houses that he delivered mail to on his route. He treated his customers as a friend or a family member, treated them with respect. And so within this, this is all about his Fred principles. Has to do with team players and each team player making a difference, paying attention to others on the team, giving team members respect, good sportsmanship, developing a positive attitude, and making positive impact. Identify when you will make a difference. Target your key players. And again, be the difference. Every player on the team can make a difference. The second Fred factor principle has to do with success. You know what? Success is built on good team relations. Most of us as service providers in our mailing, in our printing, in our support areas, our customers are our internal customers. They could be faculty, they could be staff, they could be students, they could be researchers. And again, Fred built his strategy, his work ethic around customers and personalize the service that he provided. And again, so we can consider his second principle having to do with building the networks, building and recognizing and developing the talent, the people on your team, cross training. You know, I always like to use, I love baseball. And you know what? In San Diego, we got to go to a game. It was the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals. I love St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis. St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego. They had a team. It was wonderful. But there's secret weapons, you know, on a baseball team. There's secret weapons, people who can pinch hit, that are sitting on your bench that sometimes you just have to activate them. You've got to call them up from spring training or put them on a special assignment. Be real, be interested, be a better listener, be empathetic, be honest, be helpful, and be prompt. Principle, and I won't say too much more about that, but again, creating the value for others on your team, being enthusiastic and improve and reward your players. So the next principle is the fourth Fred principle. Reinvent yourself and your team. Grow yourself, grow your value, capitalize on your team assets, improve on the best, compete with yourself, and that's okay. Sometimes I'm always competing with myself. If it's walking around the block or riding my bike, I can go the extra mile. I can make it a little further. The same with your team. Practice the one a day plan, acts of kindness, the ripple effect, and turning the ordinary into extraordinary. It happens one act at a time. Build on success. Again, doing what it takes for your team to recognize them. So the next slide we're going to talk about, again, the Fred principle, just to sum this up, it's the power of the Fred factor. You know, be a Fred. Talk about being a Fred would focus on relationships on your team and the excellence and the difference maker. We do not have to be perfect. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to learn from those mistakes, and we're going to become better team members, better leaders if we learn from that. If we learn from our mistakes and improve with each step that we take. So again, try to, you know, develop the Freds, find the Freds on your team, have the ability to recognize the ability of your team players. Don't let them slip through the cracks. A good employee, catch a good employee in the act. Sometimes our Freds, our team players, our team members are dormant. And sometimes we need to see if they're ready to come to the front line, to see what it is that they feel that they can do to support the team and to bring value to the team. You know, team members are really loaded with talent. They just sometimes need encouragement. And so, like I said, create rewards, a ticket to a game, a trophy, a plaque, a lunch, anything like that. Education is important. You can demonstrate and inspire and involve, and initiate and improvise along the way based on the members on your team. You teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. That came from John Maxwell. Think about that. You teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. And again, be in a position to help reproduce, to generate and inspire those on your team.
Hey, Peggy,
Yes.
want to ask who on our, what, any kind of rewards that people like to try and do as a question?
Sure, absolutely. That would be great. Is
Yeah,
our
anyone
question
that
and
has
answer?
any kind of rewards, and we can talk about it later. But I always like to know how other people reward their employees. That's always a good one.
Absolutely.
We have additional comments too on some of the other slides. Kathy Moyer brought out that she does cross train on everything. They have 3 full-time staff where she is, and everyone can do all processes. So that's, I'm sure, really helpful. And then Dale pointed out that he also cross trains and gets as many people to know multiple tasks, and redundancy is their friend. So that's awesome. And then April also had a comment on your slide about trust, that and on honesty, that a lack of honesty destroys trust. So very true.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That is so very important. So keep those comments coming along. That's terrific. Like I said, a simple lunch, bring in donuts in for breakfast. Everyone loves those Krispy Kreme donuts if you can find them in your area. Again, it's sometimes the little things and when you least expect it. I have to say, Washington University, I was impressed. This move-in period, they were able to provide lunch for their team, and maybe Dale can share that a little bit more. But they were able to provide during the busiest time of the year a lunch, if it were pizza, if it were sandwiches or something that they could look forward to that particular day. So I wanted to give them a shout out with regard to that.
Yeah, every whenever we could, just to make it the bitter pill a little bit easier with thousands of packages coming in each and every day, and everybody having to put in a little more effort, and including the people who don't even usually work in student mail. They all stepped up, and because of that, it helped a little bit that there was a lunch and sometimes breakfast waiting for them, for anybody who was willing to stop by.
That's great. Thank you, Dale. And we don't get burnt out because of what we do. We get burnt out because of how we do it. And I can so relate to that. Remember your why. Remember, you can push. And sometimes we get burnt out is because how we do it. And so think about that. If we can find ways to try to simplify as best that we can, we really need to be thinking about that. When your purpose is greater than your challenges, then you keep moving forward. You sometimes have to look at your purpose again. And I have to say, um, I've had to do that so many times at the university. Why are we spinning our wheels? Why are we doing it? Why do, perhaps our administration doesn't have the respect? But you wanna find the purpose, step up to the challenge so you can try to keep it moving forward. Having a vision and knowing where you're going is powerful. We talked about mission statements. We talked about core values. Those things are so important, that are going to make you more successful. And again, remember why you are heading in that direction. Remember why you are here. What difference do you want to make? What can you do to make a difference? What will keep you moving forward? And if you fail, get back up. The next time you fail, remember that it's not meant to define you, but it's meant to refine you. And I had to remind myself that time and time again in the stories that I've shared with regard to consultants and people coming in and saying that they could do it better than us, they could do it less than us, and wanted to bring someone in from the outside. That helped define me and help me become more determined that we can do it better.
Just a few comments, Peggy.
Yes.
Christina brought out that she likes to first find out how her employees like to be rewarded, whether it's a gift card or recognition, and then act on what really motivates them individually. So I thought that was really great input. And then April also brought out that her staff loves food, so she knows them really well, and she'll provide breakfast burritos or lunch as rewards for them. So that's a cool idea too.
Absolutely. Thank you for those comments. That's wonderful. So again, with that in mind, knowing what your employees want, what they appreciate, putting your people first, as shared by the retired president of Starbucks. We aren't in the coffee business serving people. We're in the people business serving coffee. So each of us can apply the same sort of concept in our work environment. We are in the people business. We are in the service business, providing those different services, putting our customers first, yes, but let's not forget to also put our team first, and putting ourselves first sometimes, knowing if we need a break, we need to step back for a moment, that's the best thing that you can do, by putting people first, putting your team, and thinking about those customers as well. But don't forget about yourself, and don't forget about your team players. Again, teamwork. Again, baseball is one of the favorite things that I love to do, to watch. And I did play softball, but teamwork, whatever team, if it's a sport team, if it's a team, a student mail operation, in the print operation, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. And make the best team possible. So again, what makes up your team and how are you going to keep that team together is ever so important. High performing teams, again, develop the best teams that you can. Recognize and reflect, again, step back sometimes. Sometimes you have to rebuild. Sometimes you have to stop and acknowledge that, okay, we did it this way, but maybe we could do it that way. Pay it forward. Kindness shared with others when they least expect it, and developed the ability to show others, to make the ordinary, the very small details of what you do every day, make it extraordinary, and make them appreciate what they're doing is extraordinary. And also the ability to ignite your team. And when I was at Arkham's, our friend Chance Adar was able to share some stories about her travels on the Yukon River. And I think this picture here, I just love. It's about how people in a boat, you could either be the person steering, you could be a passenger, you could be the one leading. She took a team of 444 miles, river miles, down the Yukon River. And they had to work, they came in like second place in their division. And I know she said for a fact that she didn't think she could ever make it. But there were different times that every person in that boat had to ignite their team, had to mentor, had to encourage, inspire, and praise them, and realize that they can make it. It's the act of leading and being positive and optimism all the time. Find ways, and I'd love to hear again how others ignite and their team in moving them forward and keeping them, changing their positions in the boat or changing their positions obviously on the team. Keys to leadership, teams, it's the initials here, together everyone achieves more. You can achieve more, you can increase morale. Leadership includes successful teams working together again with respect and trust, maintaining that trust. As Christina or April, I believe, had indicated, that if you lose trust, you lose a lot. And sometimes, it takes a lot of time to rebuild that and to be able to care for one another. Retention, being able to keep the team members together, to keep them moving forward in the same direction and achieving that same goal and getting through the day, sometimes getting through the next hour, so work together. Building your teams, again, you have to plan your moves. The leader's foremost job is to match the right candidate with the right job. I can't say that loud enough or strong enough with regard to how important it is, by putting the right person in the right job and sometimes moving them around if it's not the best suited position. And ask them not only what rewards they would like, what is it that they see that they would make the most contribution on the team. Provide all the support possible. And then sometimes you just have to take a step back and let them flourish. If they make a mistake, give them encouragement. Let's learn from the mistake and let's move on. Create a culture of success. Again, try to hire the best. Be an orchestra conductor, not a tuba player. Be a team player yourself. Get out there on the front lines and help them during your busiest times. Success is a team effort, from the top, from the middle, from the bottom up. It takes a group effort. Success is dependent upon building a competitive team with the appropriate skills, vision, and enthusiasm. And I think that's what we've tried to present throughout the Brynka Beacon series, the importance of all of those things, being able to look at your vision, see it, make it a reality, developing core values in your mission statement, and how you can motivate your team, what the importance of, measuring has on your success. So on the next slide, leaders do lead change. Team members lead change. Change is evident. It is a given in every organization, on every team. Embrace change and innovation. Sometimes, things can get mixed up and new things are brought on board at the last minute when we felt the other one was working, but you got to embrace it. And sometimes, again, I've found myself very recently having to take a look at that and understanding that nothing is ever constant, and be excited about that change and bringing it about. Progress through change allows organizations to thrive. It allows teams to thrive. Change generates power from your past to create your future. If you don't know where you came from, you may not know where you're going. We're going to learn, but don't dwell in the past. Create the future. Culture, this is a good quote that I particularly enjoy from John Gordon. Culture is like a tree. It takes years to cultivate and to grow, yet it can be chopped down in a minute. And that is so true. So allow your trees and your team members to grow, work together, cultivate, and become a team, and success will follow with you. Leadership drives success in great teams. Sustained leadership drives expectations and beliefs. And you know what? Beliefs drive behavior. Behavior drives habits. And you know what? Habits can create the future and sustain success. So now we get to hear from our participants again, and I'll let Jen share some of the comments that we can share with the rest of the group. Thank you for your patience during that momentarily silence.
Great recovery.
Thank you.
So we have all of our questions have already been and comments have already been addressed in the Q&A section. If anybody else has anything else, feel free to throw that in now. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Brynka Beacon. We also invite you to join us back next month for our last one of 2023. Hard to believe we're already at the end of 2023 here in a few short months, but that's going to be Tuesday, December 12th from 3 to 4 p.m. And that is going to be the last part of this series, Get a Grip on Your Organization, topic 6, setting yourself up for success in 2024. So you won't want to miss that. We also have our winner. After checking all the Q&As, we have one person who commented the most, and that is April Scriven from Colorado. So we thank you, April, and we will be sending you out your $25 gift card to enjoy. Thanks everybody for joining and for presenting, Peggy and Brenda. We hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you in December.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.